ones know that we getting money. Real ones know, yeah, that we getting money.
The Protestant Reformation is often taught as a purely spiritual movement, a battle over theology, corruption, indulgence, and church authority. But behind the religion language was another reality: power, economics, and control. By the 1400s and 1500s, the Catholic Church held enormous influence over Europe. Kings, merchants, and rising empires were not only competing over religion, they were competing over wealth, trade, routes, land, taxation, and global expansion. The Vatican had already helped legitimize European conquest through papal decrees that granted Spain and Portugal authority over newly claimed lands across Africa and the Americas. Colonial expansion, missionary work, and the emergence of slave trade became deeply intertwined. Then came the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther challenged the authority of Rome in 1517, but the movement quickly grew beyond theology. Kings and rulers across Europe saw an opportunity to break free from papal control and govern their own religious, political, and economic systems. England broke away under King Henry the Eighth. The Dutch revolted against Catholic Spain. National churches emerged, and with their independence came control over trade, colonization, and empire. But one question that I've always had is, if these new denominations believe Rome was morally corrupt, why did so many of them continue to participate in the slave trade? The British Empire, Protestant colonies in North America, Dutch traders, and later American Protestant churches all became deeply connected to the transatlantic slave trade and plantation slavery. The new denominations did not create a morally separate world free from oppression. Instead, many of them built economies dependent on enslaved African labor. And just like parts of the Catholic world before them, many Protestant leaders used Christianity to justify slavery. Slaveholders quoted scripture: "Servants, obey your masters," the curse of Ham. Selective passages were weaponized to defend bondage while ignoring justice, liberation, and human dignity. Churches baptized slaves while denying them freedom. Some preached salvation in heaven while enforcing chains on earth. Even denominations themselves split over slavery. The Southern Baptist Convention was formed in 1845 after disputes over whether slaveholders could serve as missionaries. So the question that I must ask is, was the split from the Catholic Church purely about spiritual truth and doctrinal differences, or was it about sovereignty, economic independence, colonial power, and the right to control labor, land, and human beings without interference from Rome? Because history shows the Reformation was not driven by one single cause. Theology mattered, is what they say. Politics mattered. Nationalism mattered. But so did empire, economics, and slavery. The uncomfortable truth of the matter is Catholic powers participated in slavery, Protestant powers expanded slavery, and many denominations across Europe and the Americas used religion to justify systems of human bondage. Christianity became both a tool of oppression and later a source of resistance, because while some used the Bible to enslave, others used the same Bible to fight for liberation. And that contradiction remains one of the most controversial and debated realities in the history of the Western world. I argued that, which I can't find it anywhere. No one said it, but I argued that a lot of these Protestant denominations that came about was because these people wanted to partake in the slave trade, and they wanted some sovereignty, economic empowerment. And that's the reason why they broke away from the church, because if this is the only doctrine that you know of and the only thing that you've learned, what did you get? Some information to make you want to move away from what you knew. Yes, Rome had become corrupt and Rome had fallen, and they had started partaking in a lot of debauchery. Some of the debauchery that Rome had partook in, they may have spoken out against those things, but the colonization and the demonization of Black people and indigenous people around the world, they didn't remove that. They didn't see that as it being immoral. So it makes me wonder, okay, because they didn't change much when it comes to doctrine. They didn't change a whole lot. You still use the same Bible. They didn't change much. They still praise the same um deity. So what was the change? What were they really breaking off for? And the only thing that I could find that became different, yeah, they have some differences in methods, but the only thing that I could find that they gained from breaking off from the Catholic Church is being able to own and control slaves and to colonize. Same thing with the queen and the king. The kings around Europe and them breaking off. The only thing that they gained was power to be able to control their own economics and control the slave trade. So that's my theory about it and just my conjecture. If you agree or disagree, get in the comment section. Talk to me. I talk bike. Uh like, share, subscribe. The hype is on the video. Hit the hype button for your boy. Subscribe to all our social media networks, Real Ones, No Media. We going up like the gas prices.
From the mud, now we way up. Count it up to the day up. Real ones never change up. We just stack it, get our weight up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.